asked, we delivered. Guam AutoSpot is extending our overstock sell-off with the hottest deals on island, like our 2025 GMC Canyon with $4,000 off. Or slide into a brand new Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, starting at just $24,995. September is your chance to drive big and save even bigger. Visit us today or get pre-approved online at guamautospot.com or call 478-AUTO. Guam AutoSpot, where the savings never stop.
Buy fuel, get Wendy's. Drive to your nearest 76 Circle K and get free Wendy's. Yes, free. Fuel up with $30 and score your choice of a 6-piece crispy chicken nuggets or a juicy junior cheeseburger deluxe. Fresh, hot, and packed with flavor. But hurry, quantities are limited and this delicious deal won't last long. So hit the road to 76 Circle K, fuel up, and get Wendy's free before it's gone.
It's me, Wednesday Addams. I regret to inform you that I have devised the meal of misfortune with Wendy's. Normally I'd be against this type of capitalistic corporate synergy. But when the other pigtailed provocateur said I could concoct my own Frosty, I melted. My meal is tribute to the suffering that awaits us all. It's pure torture for your taste buds, with 4 nightmarish dips of dread. Don't waste my time asking which ones you'll get. You must surrender to your fate. Enjoy the anguish.
Dare to try? Something new? Life's too short!
You gotta chill with the snackable drink.
Life is too short. Hey, you gotta chill.
Mogu Mogu.
Moku Moku! Kandit News is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
Good evening, my dear friends. It is 7:53 p.m. on Friday, September 5, 2025. My name is Troy Torres, and yes, it is a Friday night, and I am 45 years old, and I am nowhere else than where I want to be, and that is home. And bonus in front of you. Thank you so much for joining in this live show. And if you're catching the replay, thank you so much as well. I very much appreciate you. God bless you all, and thank you. I haven't gone live many times this week. It's just been a busy week. I hope it was a busy week for you all. I hope you got a lot done, and I hope this weekend will be a restful one for you. I intend to take the day off tomorrow, but before I take that day off, I've been so busy. I failed to bring you the story a couple of days ago, actually. And I still need to write the story. And I won't do that until Sunday. But remember Patrick Alvarez? This is the guy that we've been talking about. It's been for a few months already. We first brought you the Tenorio Corruption Case, I believe, in October or September of 2024. Fast forward months later, after a series of stories involving the Tenorio Corruption Case, way before the indictments happened, and even before the indictment happened, we started to report about a drug case from 2021 that in reviewing the drug cases, normally only have a nexus to another drug case. It's very irregular for a drug case to have a nexus to a government case, a political corruption case. So this is one of those rare things that happened, right? In reviewing federal court documents that we do, like we do here at Kandit. And we found out that in the Patrick Alvarez drug case, which went down in an indictment in June of 2021, over the course of his case and through several continuances, years after he was indicted, the federal government drops a couple of factoids into some documents that it made public earlier this year, showing that that Patrick Alvarez is a cooperating defendant against Charissa Tenorio. And then we find out through his plea agreement, which was unsealed very recently, that at least the federal government is alleging that Patrick Alvarez wrote a $38,000 or had Coast 360 write a $38,000 cashier's check that is the subject of a money laundering allegation in the Alvarez case. Mr. Alvarez has pleaded out. Like I said, he had signed a plea agreement. He has agreed to cooperate against Charissa Tenorio in his continuances of his sentencing. The federal government says that he is anticipated to provide testimony at an upcoming trial. Doesn't say it's the Tenorio corruption case, but that's the only other case that, according to the Alvarez case files, he's involved in. So Patrick Alvarez has been interesting to us, to say the least, in investigating the Tenorio corruption case so that we can bring you the latest information and we can piece the pieces of the puzzle together for us and for you as well, based on facts, based on documented evidence, based on what the federal government is alleging, based on what witnesses are telling us. And part of that due diligence was to find out, well, what was Patrick Alvarez up to during the entire time of this alleged Tenorio corruption case, this alleged PUA fraud conspiracy of amounting to at least $1.9 million in alleged theft of federal program money, theft from the poor alleged. And interestingly, we find out that Patrick Alvarez has held several jobs within the government of Guam during the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration. He even was holding jobs after he was indicted by the federal grand jury for drug trafficking and for illegal firearms possession. Of course, during the time of his employment, now I don't know what the administration knew, but we know that the case was sealed, and so there isn't an expectation that people should have known because the case was sealed up. Now, people talk, of course, and people have talked since Pat Alvarez was raided on March 24, 2021. That's a very interesting day, and you should keep that in mind as I discuss this with you. Since Pat Alvarez was raided on March 24, 2021, a lot of people have talked because, these things happen in broad daylight, and his home is in an area that is surrounded by other homes. It's near the church and Gigo, so people know what's going on. They see things, and people talk. So people have sort of known that he was raided, and there are people who would say that they knew that Patrick Alvarez was involved in what the feds are saying that he was in. Oh, well, actually, what he pleaded out to, right? And so I don't know how much the administration knew. But it is interesting that according to personnel documents in the government of Guam that since have been released to us because we have asked for them, and these are public records, we know that Patrick Alvarez has had several jobs in the government of Guam in the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration after he was indicted. And there was one job that he got, according to... Now, this is another interesting fact. We requested his personnel records. His earliest personnel record comes from the Guam Department of Labor, and it is in 2022. And it's his termination GG1. A GG1 is the name of a personnel document. It's the name of the document that the government of Guam uses to handle personnel actions. So when you're first employed into, or when you are employed into a position in the government of Guam, you have an appointment GG1s. If you are promoted within that same agency to another position, then you get a promotion GG1. If you are transferred from one agency to another within the executive branch, it's a transfer, right? Sometimes it's a termination and then an employment. And then when you leave the government of Guam, when you leave public service, you receive a termination GG1. So the Department of Administration, which handles the personnel records for the executive branch, for the line agencies, produced for a FOIA that we did, Patrick Alvarez's termination GG1 from Department of Labor. And we asked, there's a termination GG1. Where's the appointment GG1? There has to be an appointment GG1. And Department of Administration came back to us today and said, that record is all we have for Patrick Alvarez. Patrick Alvarez's appointment GG1 into the government of Guam during the Tenorio administration is missing. This adds to the stark number of government of Guam files connected to Charissa Tenorio, the lieutenant governor's sister, that has gone missing during the Tenorio administration. My dear friends, I was working in the government of Guam for a very long time, for about 6 years during the Camacho administration and 6 to 7 years, I can't remember, in the Calvo administration. I had never, ever during my service in Gov Guam have I heard of a document that has gone missing. I've heard of a staffer being late in filing a document into an agency because of, some sort of mishap. But in terms of records that have been filed and accounted for within the government, like a GG1 or like an invoice or a requisition or a purchase order, never have I heard of a missing file until this year, and only in the Tenorio administration, which is, I think, on its own says something about the administration. Now, whether it goes beyond things that are related to Charissa Tenorio, I don't know. But what we're finding in our investigations into Charissa Tenorio's business with the government of Guam, Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio's increase of wealth since he's become the lieutenant governor, is that a whole lot of documents have gone missing, including Patrick Alvarez's appointment GG1. And so we had to ask the Department of Labor when we didn't see the appointment GG1, hey, Department of Labor, when did you guys hire Patrick Alvarez? And I got a response 3 days ago from Department of Labor spokeswoman Janela Carrera, who says, Mr. Patrick Alvarez was a participant in the National Dislocated Worker Program from March 15, 2021 to March 3, 2022. During that time, and like hundreds of other program participants, Mr. Alvarez was assigned various duties. Then there's this. From March 2021 to May 2021, he was assigned to assist to the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. Confirmation that it wasn't just Kathleen Peredo, the PUA program officer, who was a defendant in the Tenorio Corruption Case. And it wasn't just Marlene Pinaula, who is another defendant in the Tenorio Corruption Case, who are attached to this case and who worked at the PUA office at this time. It was also one of the main cooperating defendants, confirmed by the Department of Labor. From March 2021 to May 2021, he started on March 15, 2021, working at the PUA office. And why that date is so significant, remember I asked you to remember the date that Patrick Alvarez was raided for the drugs and the money and the firearms. It was March 24, 2021, just 9 days later, 10 days later, 10 days, less than 2 weeks after Patrick Alvarez was hired into the government of Guam to work in the PUA office, he was raided. And according to the unsealed documents in his case, on the same day that he was raided, he was taken to the to the DEA and the HSI office. The DEA office over in Agana at the Serena Plaza, where he was interviewed at length and then he was released. According to the unsealed documents in that case, on the same exact day, Patrick Alvarez went to the bank, went to Coast 360, and got issued to him a $38,000 cashier's check made out to Charissa Tenorio. And then the following day on that was March 24. The following day on March 25, he brings the check back and then he cashes it and he takes the cash. And then on March 26, the DEA, with a warrant, goes to Coast 360 to take the money that they know is in the account based on receipts that they found during the March 24 raid, and find only a few dollars in the account. So something happened to that money. The feds felt it important enough to place it into his plea agreement that he had written a $38,000, or he had Coast 360 write a $38,000 cashier's check out to Charissa Tenorio, the lieutenant governor's sister. All the while, he is an employee of the PUA program and having been hired just days before the raid. Nothing happens to Patrick Alvarez, according to the criminal justice system that we're able to see, from the time he was raided to the time that he was indicted. And on the same day that he was indicted, he had a plea agreement, which means unless both the prosecution and defense worked in a bionic, superhuman way on that day, there was a cooperation that was happening prior to the indictment. And the indictment happened, I believe it was June 24 or June 28. I can't remember the exact date, but it's about 3 months after the raid happened. Now, you would think that these things that have been uncovered by KOAM, by Kandit, unfortunately, I can't give credit to anybody else, and that's such an unfortunate thing. And maybe, hopefully, the other newsrooms are investigating this, and they just haven't come out with the reports yet. I don't know. But you would think with the uncovering of these things, and these are all in public records, these are all documents that the administration's able to see, you would think that there would be an effort within the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration to uncover this stuff themselves, to try to figure out what happened, to try to figure out who was involved. You would think that they would say something to us. The fact that a convicted drug dealer was working in several positions throughout the government of Guam after he was indicted, the fact that this convicted drug dealer was raided by the DEA just days after he started working for the PUA office, the fact that this same person is, according to federal court documents, a cooperating defendant against Charissa Tenorio, that there is a nexus between the drug case and the Tenorio Corruption Case in the form of a $38,000 cashier's check and allegations of money laundering. Why isn't there more due diligence, more worry, more assurance from the administration that things are being looked at and that answers are going to come to us, the people of Guam? Furthermore, where the hell is the Guam legislature? Now, I get it. There are important things that the legislature is doing when it's battle with the governor. Let me just solve that entire issue that's going on right now with Guam Memorial Hospital, so that the leaders of this island can begin to address, because at any other time in our history as a government, this would have been a big deal. In any other state or territory of the United States of America, this would be a pretty darn big deal. There would be investigations galore. Only the Attorney General is doing something about any of this stuff, and he's starting with Tiguac Cemetery. He probably hasn't even gotten to this issue yet because there's just so much in the way of corruption that has come down from the Leongro Tenorio administration. So let me just solve that issue that is going on between the governor and the legislature right now. Hey, we need a new hospital. Let the governor keep that money so she can build the new hospital. She said GMH, apparently the new number that GMH needs is $40 million. If we're going to take that on face value and trust that, okay, it's $40 million, senators, it's very simple. It's a very simple arithmetic problem. You've got to either cut $40 million or raise $40 million or a combination of both so that you can transfer $40 million from one column into the GMH has $40 million column. And whether that means that you are going to roll back the tax break that you gave or a portion of the tax break you gave, or you're going to do what is more necessary and more courageous and cut wasteful spending throughout the government of Guam, or raise a fee or raise a tax that deserves to be raised, like the property tax, or capital gains. Unless you're going to do something courageous, right? Then okay, there's your tax policy. You might have to roll it back. But this is a very simple thing, senators, and you don't need to be fighting with the governor. And governor, you don't need to be fighting with the senators either. This is about moving $40 million from one column into another. Now, I didn't say it's not going to be painful. It's going to be painful, but that's what you were elected to do. And you got to do it, and you got to do it quick, and stop BSing with us, and stop with all of this hyperbole and these messages that you're sending out that are just tired, because we've heard this from almost every single administration, almost every single legislature. Doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican. And this is why you need to end all of that debate, is because you need to get onto this one. Governor, senators, there is corruption being unveiled. There are these scandals. And someone messaged me, because I send out the notice on WhatsApp that I'm going live, and just on the headline of this show, someone messaged and said, it just never ends. It's sort of an unbelievable drama that's unfolding. Can you imagine if this was anywhere else in the country and these things were being exposed? This would be a big deal for Democrats and Republicans alike in the legislature of wherever it is. It would be a big deal for the governor's office or the mayor's office or of wherever it is. Why isn't it a big deal for our leaders? Why is it only being whispered by our leaders at functions? Why haven't the senators called an oversight hearing, even one oversight hearing about this, to find out what the Guam Department of Labor knew? What did Guam Economic Development Authority know when they hired Patrick Alvarez? What did the Department of Public Works know when they hired Patrick Alvarez? What did Adelup know? Where are the documents? Where are the emails and the WhatsApp messages between all of these leaders? Because someone had to communicate in the hiring of Patrick Alvarez. And then when leaders started to find out that something was terribly wrong, what did they do? We deserve these answers. This is not something that should just simply go away. This is a big deal. And it really feels like, aside from the Attorney General at least working on the Tiguac Cemetery thing, that the only people who are coming to work for us, the U.S. Attorney and the FBI. And aren't we just a bit embarrassed that those are the people who are always cleaning up our mess, because we can't even identify the BS as our mess? That we always have to rely on the feds to do this for us. We can't do it ourselves for whatever reason. I think that's embarrassing. And it says a whole lot about us as a people. And why it says it about us as a people is because we're the ones who keep electing these clowns into office. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. Demand more. Demand more from our leaders. Expect them and push them to do something about this corruption in plain sight. Documented evidence. Even the feds are saying so, and they're still not opening their mouths over at the legislature and at Adeloop. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. Good night, and God bless you all.
You asked, we delivered. Guam AutoSpot is extending our overstock sell-off with the hottest deals on island, like our 2025 GMC Canyon with $4,000 off. Or slide into a brand new Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, starting at just $24,995. September is your chance to drive big and save even bigger. Visit us today or get pre-approved online at guamautospot.com or call 478-AUTO. Guam AutoSpot, where the savings never stop.
Buy fuel, get Wendy's. Drive to your nearest 76 Circle K and get free Wendy's. Yes, free. Fuel up with $30 and score your choice of a 6-piece crispy chicken nuggets or a juicy junior cheeseburger deluxe. Fresh, hot, and packed with flavor. But hurry, quantities are limited and this delicious deal won't last long. So hit the road to 76 Circle K, fuel up, and get Wendy's free before it's gone.
Dare to try? Something new? Life's too short!
You gotta chill with the snackable drink.
Life is too short. Hey, you gotta chill.
Mogu Mogu.
Moku moku!
It's me, Wednesday Addams. I regret to inform you that I have devised the meal of misfortune with Wendy's. Normally, I'd be against this type of capitalistic corporate synergy. But when the other pigtailed provocateur said I could concoct my own Frosty, I melted. My meal is tribute to the suffering that awaits us all. It's pure torture for your taste buds, with 4 nightmarish dips of dread. Don't waste my time asking which ones you'll get. You must surrender to your fate. Enjoy the anguish.